Alright, guys, I've got a Sasquatch encounter for you. It comes out of Oklahoma. This is a pretty unique one. I think you all's really going to enjoy this one. The guy actually said that he heard, I believe, talking, and that's kind of what a lot of people say they hear is kind of like mumbling, talking. Some even describe it as chattering, Native American talk. But this happened in McAlester, Oklahoma. An Oklahoma man said he was alerted to his window in February after his dog began growling and shaking in fear. The McAllister man claimed he saw an 8-foot tall, 800-pound bipedal humanoid creature cross in front of his window and disappear into the drainage canal. Around the same time frame of the first report, a woman in nearby Krebs, Oklahoma, reported hearing huffing and snorting in some woods along the same drainage canal. During an early morning bike ride, she said she could tell the difference from a deer blowing an alarm and what she heard, and added that there was no livestock in the area. The noise scared her so much she pedaled straight home. Hudson said growing up in Native American household, he would always hear stories about stuff. But the word Bigfoot was never used, so I never had any of mind of what it was, Hudson said. It wasn't until I got into this and with all the stuff that I had learned and the things that went on as a kid made more sense. He said he first heard of the term Bigfoot in 2004 after a coworker learned he was from Oklahoma and asked if he had ever seen Bigfoot. The coworker talked about a Bigfoot expedition in Honobia, Oklahoma, located in the eastern part of the state near Kiamichi Mountains. Hudson said he knew the area well because he has family that lived near there and went to Boy Scout camp in the same area. Hudson said afternoon of the conversation he signed up to go on an expedition. He was eventually recruited to run and organized expeditions in 2006. He began running the Bigfoot Festival in Honobia, which I know I'm saying that wrong. I believe it's Honobia. I know I'm getting that wrong, guys. But in 2010, before deciding to step down, the start of the NOBRO. We have investigators all over the state of Oklahoma, Hudson said, and we do things a little bit different than most organizations. We have an annual training where all the investigators come once a year, and we have training seminars. It's Honabi, guys. That's the pronunciation. He said his NOBRO investigators receive and filter reports before conducting interviews as well as do education and community outreach. Basically, whenever somebody has property, a piece of property, or they live in a rural or remote area, and they have stuff going on, they don't know what it is or what's going on, we go out and investigate those locations. Hudson said now we do take sighting reports, but 9 times out of 10 we usually don't go out and investigate those because most often, after a few weeks or months old, they're really not much more than just collecting data. Reports are then sorted by classification, Class A reports, and so forth. I know a lot of law enforcement in Oklahoma, so sometimes the sheriff's office or deputy or undersheriff or sheriff himself will kindly pass something on to me to say, hey, you might want to be able to go check this spot out, Hudson said. Along with appearing at conferences, a lot of police officers have started appearing at our conferences. which we find a little strange. When asked to define Bigfoot, Hudson said they're creatures of flesh and blood, but they are also spirit, he believes. They're another tribe of people. They are not an animal, Hudson said. They predominantly live in Oklahoma fields and in groups. He explained that the oral histories of these creatures started along the nation's beginning of the Trail of Tears. They say that all of them, most of the time, live in the mountains, heavy wooded areas, or swamps. The man in this particular case was sitting in his front room one night whenever he heard what he thought was a man outside of his house talking to a couple of other men. And as he was sitting there, the voices got louder, but they were ununderstandable. You couldn't make out what they were saying, but you could tell that they were having conversation. It was about that time my dog started having a fit, and whenever I looked at the window, I saw something walk past. I thought, oh my God, I've got prowlers. So I got up, grabbed the shotgun, sat back down into my chair, and turned out the lamp that sits beside my chair. I usually sit with this small lamp on at night. As I'm sitting in the dark, I can hear the walking outside, but the walking sounds heavier than a normal person. Whenever I look toward the window, again, I see something at the window. I thought, oh my God, they're peeking through the window. I had the window up and there was just a screen, so I knew there wasn't much between me and them. And it was at that time my dog started having a fit, growling, barking, shaking, but going backwards and not toward it. This was nothing like my dog. She usually would go toward whatever it was. Yes, she is a biter. But this thing, she wanted nothing to do with. So I flipped on my flashlight real fast, pointed it at the window, and I screamed, "Get out of here, I'm armed," thinking it was probably some men or some kids messing around. It was at that time I saw its face. A huge face. Hair circulated the face, not much hair on the direct face. It was human looking, but also animalistic looking. Its eyes glowed red as the light went into its eyes. It had large squared teeth. It looked at me with the light right in its face, and it opened its mouth large and it screamed through the window, causing me to fall back into my chair and my dog actually jumping up into my lap and scratching my chest and face trying to get behind me on top of my chair. We both sat there shaking. The creatures, as they walked down the side of the house leaving toward the woods, they beat on my walls all the way to the end of my house, so violently that some pictures had fell off the walls and some china that I had above my sink, busting into the sink. They've never returned, and thank God, and I hope they never do. But at night sometimes, when I'm still sitting in the dark, listening, watching my TV as low as I can keep it, I can still hear the yells in the mountains that carry across the hills, and I know that it's them down there still yelling and they're still around. I hope y'all enjoyed this, but let me tell you, this is something I hope that you never encounter. A lot of people wish to, but I'm telling you, once you do, you'll wish you never had. Thank you for listening, guys. That was an encounter sent in, and I think that is a really strong encounter. I mean, can you imagine? That is so crazy. But I wanted to share this with you guys. The talking, a lot of people talk about how they talk and hearing the chattering and stuff like that. It seems to me like when he shined a flashlight on him, he irritated them and they beat on his house. Um, there's a lot of people say they don't like light, and the light might have been what made them leave. I'm not sure. Probably him yelling, the dog barking, and the light and everything. Probably all that stuff probably was a big contributor to it. But I wanted to share this with you guys. I thought it was a pretty good encounter. It's a Bigfoot encounter, and I know a lot of people have been asking for a Bigfoot encounter, so I reached out and I found one, and I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Hey, thank you for watching, guys. Until next time, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner, and we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to hit that like button, share us out, and if you're not a member, I'd like to welcome you to subscribe, guys. It doesn't cost anything to shoot down, subscribe, ring the bell, select all, and you'll get all of our latest uploads. We got a lot of cool stuff coming, a lot of new locations we're going to be traveling to. So subscribe, hit that all, and ring that bell, and join us. It's going to be a fun adventure.